Hello, 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 hello. Look at you all.
Welcome, welcome.
Hi, hello, hello.
All right, welcome to the Sid City Social Club for Tuesday, August 3rd. We're glad you're here. All right, over to Sid.
Well, it is good to see you all. I'm just going to put this into non-little teeny square view. Hi, I am in Thailand. I've been here for, I think, probably about 5 weeks, something like that. We started filming and everything was terrific. And then the government noticed that COVID was getting a little out of control and they shut us down for 2 weeks. But luckily, last week we got a permit to go back to work. So we are now grinding the gears of the unit into business and going back to the set and starting work again. That doesn't include me. The schedule has changed completely to shoot just what can be shot under the circumstances, with only a few people allowed anywhere near the camera at any given time. And we just wait to see when we're called to come and do stuff. So we just have to be ready with just about every scene, just in case they call your scene tomorrow, which might happen. Because the nature of quarantining and the logistics of getting everybody, of putting the schedule together and making sure there's a camera and a camera crew and everything and ready and the set's ready, means that they've got every single actor who has even half a line out here for the entire period, and they just wait in their apartment, and they've shut the park. So there's a lovely park over there where people go for a big walk and runs and stuff, and that's been shut, which is kind of puzzling because there's no one in the park. Even on a good day, they're all incredibly happy and really jovial and fun to be around and put a hugely brave face on it. So here I am, and I feel like I haven't seen you guys for weeks. I'm going to try and squeeze in a few more pop-ups, I think, to catch up with the backlog of people who need to talk about everything that they're doing and up to and who we need to hear about. So that's it. Let's get cracking with something. I don't know what. Mel's in charge as usual.
Well, do you want to do photos first, or do you want to kind of intersperse those?
Let's get on with it. Yeah,
okay.
And if we can do more, we can rattle them all out, and we don't get. I don't mind any which way up. So I've been around and I've taken a few photos of just me walking to the supermarket and the various places I'm allowed to go to. And just to give you a flavor of anyone who hasn't been to Bangkok before, but who has seen the Hangover movie and thinks Bangkok is some huge red light district. It is not. I just love the colors of everything. There's a lot of traffic in Bangkok. It's all scooters and brightly colored cars. You should see the buses. They're just Technicolor wonderworks. Everybody has a shrine. So these are outside every kind of fancy place. And you can just sneakily see a bit of Starbucks coffee there. So that's Starbucks has managed to get here too. And these shrines are very colorful and beautiful. And oh yeah, this is one of the street vendors. There are lots and lots of street vendors, and bananas are cheap as chips here because they grow everywhere. And that young person, I was very shy about taking photos of people. I'd love to have taken photos of people, but that young person just noticed me at the last minute as I was furtively taking a camera. I even kind of went to the side to try and avoid her. This is everywhere. These people are everywhere selling these little bits and pieces. But the shopping malls are the same as everywhere else in the whole world. You could be dropped in a shopping mall in any country on the planet, any state in America, and they look pretty much like this. These guys are holding up the building. I don't think they're Thai culturally. I think maybe Japanese. But I just thought this was such a flattering angle of this guy's cheeks, rosy cheeks, that I had to. He's doing an excellent job. This is again just the colorful traffic jams, and I just love the teeming business on the street. And the streets have no trash cans. So this place looks like Vegas in a weird way. It's incredibly wealthy buildings, tons and tons of them. I mean, it goes on and on and on for ages. And I say Vegas because the highest, the most, I guess, iconic architects have come here to build buildings. So this stuff is really, really, really super adventurous and fancy. But they have no trash cans, so they have no real municipal service. It's kind of bizarre, the combination of incredible sort of developing country and super developed country happening here. That everyone has bananas. They're growing in people's yards. This is just someone's yard. And I thought they were kind of cool because you can see the little baby bananas at the bottom, and they're going to grow up to be huge bananas like their friends. This is what a school looks like. This is an ordinary government-run school in Thailand. Very similar to the schools in Japan, actually. And all the kids hang out around in all the little rooms around there. Obviously, it's not school day today. But I thought that was pretty cool. This is just my walk to the supermarket. So you guys are getting special treatment. I took lots of photos of these street stalls, these amazing kind of, a lot of street food being on sale everywhere. What kind of interests me here is not just the amount of food on sale, which by the way, everybody comes out, pulls out of their offices and just goes straight to one of these. There's no like Pret a Manger or whatever those places are called where people get their sandwiches. They just go to these places. But what fascinates me is the electrical wires above. That is what is that they don't. So again, municipal service is not quite caught up with the 21st century, but everything else is great. But yeah, all the electricity is above ground.
It's almost art.
It is. I've got more photos of it. I became obsessed with it. Ah, yeah. This was. If you look carefully, this is a street of massage parlors.
I'm giggling a little bit over the name of this one, Bear Hug Massage.
Yeah.
Has that come up in the script yet? The bear hug?
No, not yet.
It's Abdullah's involved in it. So yeah, there's not, but yeah, your protege.
Okay.
So I'm hoping they do it because it is hilarious.
I will look out for that. Yeah, absolutely.
An actual bear, Sid. It's an actual bear.
Oh my God. Well,
Charlie has to hug an actual bear.
Oh my gosh. Well, we haven't heard about it yet. This I like because it's the honey house. I was first of all taken in by the electricals because as I said, I became obsessed with the kind of urban art of all these electrical wires everywhere. But the honey house that's quite a sprawling area with a honey restaurant and a honey cafe, and I don't know that they actually sell honey. Just FYI. That's my view. And you see what I mean about Vegas. It's astonishing that there is, and that's the park that they've closed. It is amazing. There is a sort of larger central business district here than there is in pretty much any country I've ever been to. This is huge. It's a bit like, well, not even like Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a tiny fraction of Manhattan. That could be the view from Central Park, to downtown. It's wild. That's our taskmaster of a dialect coach called Hetal. She's in Bombay, and obviously me. And this is basically what we do 2 times a week to go over all the Hindi we have to learn. But that's us. That's basically part of my daily life. Oh, look, I'm in the same room. You probably recognize that. I actually look exactly the same. I've got a white t-shirt instead of a black t-shirt.
I'm really proud of you for taking a screenshot here.
Yeah, I did. Took a screenshot. And that's my drive to work. Behind plastic, you can probably see. We don't communicate much, the driver and I. It's a 40-minute drive. They're alone in this air-conditioned minivan. But that's a memory I wanted to keep. And then when we arrive at set, first thing we do is get tested again. And we shuffle through. This is a marquee the size of a tennis court. So we go through this area into what looks like a sort of detox tent there. And then we get our little package. And then we go back to one of the cubicles on the other side and have a test. So that's just before work. So they're super duper careful here. We get tested. When we're not working, we get tested 3 times a week. And when we're working, we get tested when we arrive. This is where all the actors hang out. Obviously, it's a night shoot here. So we come in at about 7 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. and we leave at about 6 o'clock in the morning. And we're all assigned one of these trailers, for want of a better word. That's me with the lovely Helen, who does my hair and makeup. I don't have any makeup, but she does my hair. And that's the luxurious trailer we hang out. This is so different to what they used to, which is not lit with neon. It's lit just with some overhead lights, so she can see a ring light back there that they've had to bring in because she can't see well enough. So she jumps in, pulls that ring light around when she's putting some hair extensions. I'm getting a blow wave there because it's the 80s, so my hair is rather large, to put it mildly. That's probably the most I can show you. And there are some proper sideburns. I've grown some, I don't know if you can see, but I've grown some really serious sideburns. Can you see those? Can actually knit those into something for your grandchildren.
Right off the side of your head? I don't know.
So there we are. That's a little introduction. I might be able to do some more furtive sort of stuff and maybe even get a few people in front of the camera at some point. It'd be really nice, but I just thought I'd introduce you to what I see pretty much every day.
That's awesome. A little glimpse into daily life.
A little glimpse into the Thai life. And this is guava juice, one of my favorite juices, by the way, which any kind of juice that if you like juice, Thailand is heaven. They have the most exquisite juices because they have the most delightful fruit.
And we're going to go over to say happy birthday to Savannah.
Hi.
Savannah, happy
Hello.
birthday.
Thank you.
It's really good to see you and happy birthday. Can everybody say
Thank
happy
you.
birthday to Savannah?
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday
Happy
to
birthday.
you.
Thank you,
Happy
dear
birthday.
Savannah.
Thank you, everybody. That's what I wanted right there.
Oh, there you go. That's the way to
Yes, perfect. That's what I needed to make it feel like a birthday now.
go. Tell everybody what your job is again, because some people might
So-
not remember.
I fix computers at the University of Central Florida. I am responsible, me and 3 other people right now are responsible for, I would say, about a third of the campus, maybe a fourth of the campus computer-wise.
My God.
And we are, it's not the whole campus. It's about,
Yeah.
I would say about 25 to 30%.
So your semester comes up in a couple of weeks. Is it September?
It is late August. So we have just a couple of weeks, which I'm not in school, so it doesn't affect me that way. But like when the fall semester starts up, there are going to be people coming back to campus who have not been back to campus since March of last year. So there's going to be a lot of like computers getting unmothballed and they're not going to work anymore. And it's always difficult. Like the first 2 to 3 weeks of fall are always our absolute worst time of year. But this year we're going to go into them with 360 open incidents backlogged in the queue already.
Oh my God. And there's going to be also tens of thousands of students coming into school going, what does this button do?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Yes, very much so.
What did you do for your birthday? Anything? Because I know you're in Florida and things are pretty, well, not rosy in Florida right now.
So I went to Kennedy Space Center for my birthday for the first
fantastic.
time in a year and a half. I have annual passes to Kennedy Space Center, which has like a theme park kind of thing attached to it, so you can like go and see all the stuff. And I have kept an annual pass to there for like 5 or 6 years, and I had not been since the pandemic. It is like, I feel about NASA like most people feel about Disney World, so I was very happy to go home again and, you know, take lots of aesthetic pictures of spaceships and stuff. It was very nice to be back.
How was it during mid-pandemic? How was the Kennedy? How did they organize it?
During the worst part of the pandemic, they had like lots of limits on how many people could get in and that kind of thing. I think most places have basically given up at this point. Thankfully, it seemed like not a lot of people are willing to brave it anyway, though, because I know what the average crowd level there is usually like, and it seemed a lot less dense than it usually is when I was there. So I don't know if they're still actually limiting capacity or if people have just decided it's not worth venturing out into.
What has changed about you in the last year? It's because now you've been here a year. I could have explained some of the things that I think has changed about me, but what did you not, who were you not when you first came a year ago that you are now?
Oh God, I don't even know how to
I
answer
know,
that
heavy question.
I-
Came out of nowhere. Came out of
Yeah,
left field. We
that's
were just getting
mean.
along fine, and everything was terrific. And he was talking
That's
about
mean. I cut off a lot of my hair.
I noticed.
It was very, very long before. I cut off a lot of my hair.
It looks really pretty, if that's an appropriate thing to say.
That's fine. I'll take it. I am now a published essayist.
Wow, congratulations.
I'm laughing because I didn't know if you would know this already because it was on StarTrek.com and it was about you.
Oh, no, I don't know. Thank goodness.
I didn't know if you would.
That's I now obviously will have to go find this essay.
I think Mel has it.
Okay. Yeah, I tend not to notice. I'm living my own little bubble, and I just sort of move around, bouncing off other bubbles. What was this fantastic, by the way, and sincere congratulations. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for telling us exactly what happened. I am wishing you so much luck and energy and strength for this coming maelstrom that is the beginning of the semester.
It is much appreciated.
If we can help in any way, you let us know.
I mean, if anybody wants to work at UCF, if anybody knows computers, come on down. We'll make it.
Does unplug it work as an IT? Can you just say
yes,
unplug it?
Absolutely.
That's pretty much all I got.
Yes.
That's all I got. Clear the cache.
Thank you, sir.
Some kind of cache. You're welcome.
You're good. You're set.
Yeah, good to go.
Thanks, Savannah. Happy birthday.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, we're going to go check in with Patrick. It's been about a year since his first chat as well.
Ooh, Patrick.
Hey, Sid, how you doing?
I'm doing really well, thanks, Patrick. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, I realized I was on a walk with the boys the other day, and I said, I think the last time I actually spoke to Sid was my birthday on January 1st. I'm like, I'm going to throw in. Let's see how things are going.
That's really great. And you're in Toronto? Is that mine?
Yeah,
Is that
the tower's right behind me? Yep.
There you go. There you go. I can just see that, but I wasn't sure if that was a reflection of a light or an actual thing.
No, that's the tower. I've got a pretty cool neighborhood. The tower's there, and I've got a 200-year-old fort next door to me.
What a wonderful view. How are you and your family?
Good.
And you're all well, I take it, and your family are well?
Yeah. I'm going to be slightly more well, ideally by the end of the weekend when I can finally go and get new running shoes now that the gyms are opened again. So,
what's going on with Canada?
So it depends where you are. Our vaccine rates are pretty good. Like I said, things are reopening, but they're doing it in phases, right? Like, so there's still some limits on sensible things, right? Just numbers of people and just seeing how it goes before we completely open the floodgates.
Yeah. And I asked this to Savannah a second ago, so I'm gonna catch you a little bit by surprise. But what is different about you over a year? I'm curious to know, because I think a lot of people have changed in some way over this last year. I think this is a massively introspective time, and we've all found new things, discovered new things, or lost things. What is different about Patrick?
One is the easier one, which is I have even less patience for idiots who are talking about vaccines or microchips and, it's all conspiracies and climate change doesn't exist and, Trump is great and all that. I just have no time for it. Like none. None. Even less. And I was never a very patient person to begin with. Absolutely none.
Yeah.
But in a second, and probably a bit more, the piece that I keep with me is it's not too often, globally and nationally and regionally, you really get to face something like this, that it's not an existential threat, although it is for some people, but it was a major disruption and it was sudden. It went from everything's fine to we're shutting down overnight.
Yeah.
And it's different than dealing with a storm or a tornado, or because it's just such a vast unknown, and you never really know how you're going to react to it. And I always kind of hope that, reading a lot of sci-fi, post-apocalyptic stuff, the work I've done internationally, it's like you kind of think you're going to react well, but you never know. And I think I handled it well, and I feel like I put the family first, made sure that the food was there, made sure that I checked, that things were still working, and didn't go to pieces, right?
That's great to know.
And I don't mean the anxiety part, because I think everyone has that. I mean more just you didn't fall into the camp of the toilet paper hoarders and the people getting into fights in supermarkets because they just couldn't handle life.
And how do you think that was for your kids? Because this is a bizarre, but it's an interesting, because we're talking at the age your kids are, we're talking in the 20% of their lives so far has been spent, unusually exposed to their parents, hanging around the house rather than socializing with other kids.
I was expecting them to be fine. I was not expecting to be just bowled over impressed at how they handled it. Incredible. I'd put them up against a lot of people in a lot of jurisdictions that just were nowhere near as serious about it, but also did it with a laugh. Like we managed the situation where we couldn't go out. We played board games. Where we couldn't, if the weather was bad and things were closed, we walked around the hallways in the building just to do stuff. I actually got them little sort of fake replica medals. They're actually made of metal, and I sort of awarded them these medals for just how great they were handling it, right? Just something they could hold on to.
That's so touching. That's such a touching thing to have done. That's a really cool thing to have done. Okay, because I'm curious, because you've got kids. I've got a kid who's in a difficult position because he's 24 and 5 now, and very important years have just been taken from him. Not taken from him, but he lost to the first years of his stepping out, when he's supposed to just go, I am now going to be an author or a poet, and I'm going to do it properly. And that's gone. And he's now got to start again a bit later, which is fine. But I don't know quite how to, I don't need to explain to him. He's a perfectly capable adult who can make up his own mind about how he works on this. But in 12 and 13, 11 and that area, you're going to getting into a school zone where they're going to be comparing the size of their relative fathers or parents and boasting about, well, my dad, my mom, and all that stuff. There's going to be a bunch of kids who think the opposite, because Canada is not immune to this particular populism. And I don't know how, because normally there's just no way of winning that argument, and there's no way of winning the argument with children who are famous for telling the truth, and they will just constantly keep saying the truth, however cruel it is to each other. I'm desperate to learn, because I think the biggest problem I have with us today as a group, as a society, is not only do we not include enough people who are denizens of this particular site, but we don't include them intrinsically. We don't include them because we actively exclude them, not out of ignorance, but out of active despisement, out of active hate. And I'm really curious how we fix that, because I've never been in a time when I haven't gone, well, there'll be a Bob Dylan again who will come and tell us how to do this. Or there'll be a Shakespeare again who'll come and tell us how to do this. I don't see that. I love what Billie Eilish is saying, but she's vilified for saying it, This young 18-year-old girl who's saying, I'm terrified of us. They hate it for it. I'm saying way too much anyway. This is not meant to be my rant platform.
No. It reminds me of it was a policy group that I used to be a part of, but its slogan always comes back to me when you do have, and I think it's something we've forgotten or just don't practice, which is we need to find ways to civilly disagree again. And if you want to tell me the sky's yellow, by all means. If I know you have my back when I need a tire changed, and you're not actively trying to harm me or convert me, and you're generally a good person, you can think the sky is purple all you want, but we need that space to just acknowledge that the people we disagree with are still human. And there's limits to that. There's a huge swath of people that are just lining up, right? It's everyone's moving into their trench, into their tribe. And we got to get back. Like, not everything needs to be attacked. Not everything needs to be canceled. There is huge space for us to come back and just realize, we're all people. No one sees things the same way. Let's talk about it, but it's got to be civil. It's got to be respectful. If you can't do that, then you got to go.
Yeah. I think you're right. It's particularly cogent for people. A lot of people here, a lot of our friends are in families who vehemently disagree with each other. Those families are kind of torn apart right now. Because they don't trust each other, and they don't trust each other's opinions, which is kind of normal. but they don't trust the basis of those opinions. They actually think there's a faulty wire. So there's something so deeply intrinsic about this divide between us. We've got a worldwide pandemic, and it hasn't helped us. And in this case, we have been at war for a year and a half now, and we are not getting any closer, which is just bizarre. I'm really glad. Thank you very much for giving me the chance to just blah on you. Because I'm sitting in Thailand, sitting here, obviously with way too much time on my hands, and I'm thinking about my. I think the biggest problem I have is just this disparity, this divide. I've been talking about it for about a year, but it's something that's still here, bugs me. Thanks, Patrick. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for come on again. And I will try not to desert everybody and be away for so long.
All good. Great chat as usual. Thanks.
Thanks, my friend.
Thanks, Patrick. All right, we're going to stick with the academia, and we're going to go talk to Mallory, who has a very cool presentation for us.
Hurrah!
Hello.
Mallory.
Good.
So I'm very excited about this.
I know, I'm really excited too to share. I think a lot of my participants are here today too, and are probably excited to hear what the results were. So one of the first, if not the first session that I attended, Gail Stever, who is here tonight and who is Sid's friend, who is a psychology professor in New York and does fandom research. She was on and she was talking about some of the research that she's done. And I kept waiting for her to say, and this is what I'm doing for the Sid City Social Club. And I was really surprised that she didn't. And I thought, this is such like a prime great opportunity. Somebody needs to be researching this. And so I reached out to her, and she was in the midst of writing a textbook. And so she was not able to kind of jump on board, but she encouraged me. She thought it was a great idea, encouraged me to reach out to Mel, which I did. And then this all happened. And as a social work professor, I have taught about virtual communities before and about the benefit of virtual communities and how they influence human behavior, but I've actually never been a part of one before. Sid City is the first virtual community that I've ever been a part of. So it's kind of been cool to me to actually like have experience in the thing that I'm now teaching about. So for those of you who are familiar with research, and specifically human subject research, you typically have some sort of theory or conceptual framework that kind of grounds the work that you're doing and guides the work that you're doing. So for me, I took a look at use and gratification theory. And so there are kind of 5 factors that lead into that. The first is purpose of value, and that's really just the giving and receiving of information with this group or this media outlet that you're a part of. Self-discovery is often a big part of that, obtaining social resources, kind of going through some self-discovery or self-knowledge, maintaining interpersonal connectivity, which was obviously a huge thing during the pandemic. So things like social support and friendship. Social enhancement, so that's just kind of the value that your status in that particular community gives you. And then of course, just entertainment, the fun and the relaxation that comes from the friendships and social interactions that you make. I used a research methodology called phenomenology, which is a little bit different than what most people think of with research, because you don't have an actual research question that you're examining. You examine a phenomenon. So what I examined in this study was the experiences of people participating in a specific virtual community during the time of a global pandemic, and the meaning that my participants attributed to those experiences with Sid City Social Club. It was a qualitative study, meaning that I really took a look at what people had to say and the stories and the narratives that they told me versus looking at numbers and numerical data. For anyone interested, it was specifically transcendental phenomenology. And what that means was, after I did my interviews, I gleaned through specific significant statements that I saw coming up over and over between participants, and I grouped them into clusters of meaning or themes. And then what I did was I looked at what's called a textual description, meaning what the participants experienced, both cognitively, so what they thought about their experiences with the club, and affectively, how they emotionally felt about their experiences with the club. And taking a look at how they experienced that, and in the end coming up with a composite description, basically how did they experience that phenomenon of being a part of this specific virtual community during a global pandemic. So I did interviews with 25 participants. They lasted anywhere from 20 to 90 minutes. I also did pre and post interviews with Mel, Sid, and Colin, who are all kind of a big part of helping run all the different components. And then with my 25 participants, all but 2 of them actively participate in the after hours Discord. All but 2 of them actively participate in Colin's quizzes and the post-quiz chats. They've all talked to Sid at least once. Many of them have talked to him several times during the Zoom meetings, and they had all been participating regularly for several months before the study began. A little over half, 13 of the 25 were from the US, 5 were from the UK, 2 from New Zealand, 2 from Australia, 1 from the Czech Republic, 1 from Germany, and 1 from Canada. 13 were in the 30 to 39-year-old range, 4 were 40 to 49, 2 were 50 to 59, and 6 were in the 18 to 29 years old category. Almost half, 12 identified as female, 4 identified as male, 6 identified as non-binary, 1 was two-spirit, 1 questioning, and 1 gender fluid. And then one of the other things I looked at was I wanted to make sure that I had a decent amount of people who were living by themselves, because they would have perhaps a different experience of isolation and quarantine than people that were living with others. So 11 of my participants lived alone, and 14 lived with somebody else, at least one other person. And now the exciting part, the findings. One of the biggest things was all the participants talked about how it was really a big source of psychological support. There were a lot of different ways that they described that. The 2 main things were, number 1, stability during a time of change. So had multiple participants that moved, some of them across their country during the pandemic, multiple participants who changed jobs or lost jobs, multiple participants who had some sort of mental health diagnosis where they had a really strong flare up during the pandemic. And they stated that having this stability of this particular group while going through those changes and those difficult times really provided a huge amount of psychological support for them that they might not have otherwise had. A lot of them just said in general, it was really encouraging, which helped them a lot psychologically. And for each of these points, for a lot of them, I jotted down some specific quotes that I'll share with you all. So as far as being encouraging, one participant said, "That's another reason why I think I come back. It's just so good for my psyche, let alone my heart and soul. It's good for my psyche just to go. I think that's one of the ways that it's saving my life. And then the other way is also that it's just good for the heart and soul, and that also will save your life too." So the environment of community that Sid City has created was another really strong theme that I found in the data. And 2 of the biggest pieces of that were everyone just talked about the people of Sid City. One participant said, "I love these human connections from all over, from so many different perspectives. It paints such a great tapestry." And another person said, "I have met more people doing this than I think I have met in the past 20 years. People that I want to be in touch with afterwards. So it's meant the universe to me. It's literally opened up the universe for me." You know, the people was really just one of the biggest things that participants talked about. The post-quiz chats was a huge part of what people felt helped build this community. So one person said the post-quiz chat was like a breath of fresh air, because it was that social interaction that so many of us hadn't really had for such a long time. And plus we were really getting to know and meeting new friends in a way that we couldn't do on the Discord or in the main Zoom meetings. So while the majority of the interviews were spent talking about the actual Sid City Zoom meetings, a lot of people just talked about how these post-quiz chats really helped build another element to the community, because we got to have so much more personal interaction and get to know people through that. And then of course, COVID support was a huge one. The biggest piece being that this was a social outlet for people during isolation, during the quarantine period, especially those who lived alone, but people who lived with others too that were really cut off from a lot of their social supports. So one person said, "I remember talking to my mother and being like, I'm so tense and it just does not go away. And it's just because the pandemic is so bad. And then I got on to the Sid City Social Club. I did the first Zoom call, and I remember walking outside onto my porch and starfishing out on a beach chair and telling my mother, I think the phrase I used was, I feel like my insides are unspooling, and I've never found a better phrasing. I think it was the fact that I had been so stressed and it just let up all of a sudden, and it had not let up in weeks, and it was unbelievable." Another person said, "When I finally found this community that were interested in talking to each other, sharing with each other, learning from each other, it kind of got me out of the slump. It cheered me up. I don't know how, but it cheered me up hearing other people talk about their experiences and realizing I'm not the only one who's trapped." And then one person simply said, "It's weird to think of like 2020 as being the most social year I've ever had." And then a lot of people said specifically that it provided a really nice routine during quarantine. So one person said it was like a honing point. Even if everything else was hitting the fan, there were those two things, the social club and the quizzes, that I knew would happen each week that I could look forward to. And many people reiterated that, when everything kind of fell into chaos and jobs looked different or were no longer there and social supports weren't there, there were always these things that were happening at the same time every week that people could look forward to. What I also found that I wasn't even really looking for was all of this information and data about fandom specifically. So I have all of these additional fandom findings, and I'll talk in a little bit about what I'm going to do with that. But so I kind of put these in a separate category. So many of the participants talked about the uniqueness of this community as a fandom. And ironically, the two pieces of uniqueness were, number one, how Sid makes it unique, but also number two, how the fandom is not all about Sid. As far as Sid is concerned, for example, one person said, he's just generally interested in everybody. And he just seems so warm and happy that, hearing him talk to people and getting them to talk about their life and their interests, it just makes you feel better about the world. And then another person said, I don't see a lot of other public figures doing this, and it doesn't have to be just in the arts. Like, I don't see sports figures doing it. I don't see singers doing it, other than desperately trying to sell online concert tickets. And like, totally get that. But yeah, all these people who have public personas and who have done substantial bodies of work, it's like, I don't see anything close to this, like, anywhere. A couple examples of people who talked about, Sid is great, but at the same time, this is unique because it's not all about Sid, like a lot of fandoms are. One person said, we're not just fans of Sid, and it's not like the all hail Sid brigade. It's more, it has at least become more about the community itself and about the people in there and sharing stuff with each other and creating things together. And another person said it wasn't primarily a fan space. The focus was on getting to know the fan and not just Sid. So just a few of the ways that people thought that this community was much more unique than maybe some of the other fandom spaces that they had experienced. Similar to my last slide, the community environment, and specifically in the environment of this particular fandom, people found unique. One person said, this is the first time where I've literally felt like part of the group, and it's been completely natural and comfortable to me. Another person said, I work in a career that's not conducive to being the entirety of myself at this life. So with the social club, I could be in my profession and, all of these different things that I have to not actively suppress, but certainly downplay in my daily life, my professional life. So again, just speaking to the amazing environment that's been built by this fandom, this amazing sense of community that perhaps not every fandom has. And then several people just mentioned how egalitarian it is. So we obviously have Mel as our fearless leader, and we have Sid as the person that brings us together. But it really is kind of a shared space, and it's not dominated by one person, and we all play an active part and an active role in the community. And that was really unique to a lot of people. This is also a community with many, many, many offshoots that have kind of stemmed from it. The three that came up most commonly was, again, the quizzes and specifically the post-quiz chats. Another person said specifically, the post-quiz chats have been amazing. I'm not sure whether this community we built would have become what it is without those chats. Talking by text, by Discord, it's one thing, but having those smaller groups where we can actually talk to people, it means so much. With regard to Discord, a lot of people said that, especially for people who are introverted, it really gave them an ability to open up in a way that maybe they wouldn't be able to, if, had never signed up with a chat or to chat with Sid, or had only done it one time, or it was really anxiety producing for them, or if even participating in the quizzes or post-quiz chats just wasn't really comfortable for them because, that's not their personality, they're more introverted. Discord gave a really great outlet where their face didn't have to be in everything, and they didn't have to be speaking out loud in real time. They could just use that messaging app. And so that really helped for people that were introverted. And also it really helped keep constant connection and constant communication, where people didn't have to wait for a Tuesday or a Friday or for the weekend quizzes to connect with people. They could constantly stay in contact. And for some people who were going through really difficult times, that was really important. If, on a Wednesday morning, something terrible happened and they had people that they could connect with, that they could find support from in that moment. People mentioned some of the individual Sid chats that they have joined. And many people just said, this is so unique. This type of thing doesn't really happen with other fandoms. And then another big thing was, this is something that's available to everyone. So, you know, we have a lot of people that are part of our group that struggle financially, and going to a convention has never been or will never be an option for them, just because it's so expensive, or there are never ones that are happening near them. And so multiple people said, this is the only real opportunity that I'm ever going to have to interact with someone like Sid, because I can't afford to go to a convention. Or disability was another reason, whether it's physical or mental health. People said, you know, because I deal with this, just going to a convention is not an option for me. And this made it accessible for me. This made it possible for me. Originally, when I went into this, it was one study. I was going to do one article on it and hope that it got published. As I gleaned through all of the data that I have, I realized that I really have two separate articles. So the first article, which I started writing last week, focuses on my initial research phenomenon. It focuses on the benefits of a virtual community during the pandemic. That's the one I'm writing now. My goal is to have it done by the first week of September, so I can submit it to some peers for feedback before submitting to a journal. And then I decided that I'm going to do a second article to piece in a lot of this fandom data that I got that was kind of ancillary to my original focus. And again, Gail Stever actually has a friend that works for the journal Psychology of Popular Media who's already aware of this study and is interested in taking a look at it. So when it is written up, which I'll work on that throughout this fall semester, that is where I will be submitting. That was a lot of information. Anybody have any questions about anything?
Feel free to jump off mute if you've got a question for Mallory about this.
Are you going to do any further studies with how it's becoming real life about meeting in person? And
it's something that somebody should do. I probably won't be the one to do it.
I was going to ask, what is the most surprising thing that you learned throughout the course of the study?
I'm going to answer it a little bit differently than you probably intended. The most surprising part for me as a researcher was how much I got sucked into the study. Because when I first, when I first started attending Sid City, it wasn't a community that I was necessarily looking for. It was, I said I've never been a part of a fandom. I've never been a part of a virtual community. And when I started this, it kind of started as I was kind of this outsider, this researcher looking in, as it should be. But I was surprised how much I just really connected with the community. And I really had to use a term that we use in research is reflexivity, making sure that I tried to keep some space and kept my biases in check and made sure that I wasn't interpreting the data through my lens and my filter, because I started to really come to care about this community a lot. And I started to relate to a lot of the things that were coming out in the data. And at one point I was like, I should use myself. I should be a participant. But I was like, no, that'll get too much into the weeds. But so it surprised me how much, I really, as a researcher, benefited from this community and how meaningful it's become to me. And the same things that were reflected in a lot of the data that I gathered, I would echo those same things about the community.
Analytically, what was the most interesting point of data that you've drawn from this study?
I found just so interesting the piece about the uniqueness of this community, because I wouldn't have known that because I haven't participated in other communities, and other people who talked about it were just so surprised at how different this particular community was than other virtual communities and specifically other fandoms that they've been a part of. So that was really interesting to me to hear how people viewed this as so incredibly unique, not just because it was happening during the pandemic, but just as a fandom community, how unique it is from others and from other online communities they've been a part of.
I'm really interested in something that I'm not I don't really, Gail will tell you, because we've talked about this for 20 years or something, but I'm not a big fan of fandom. I'm quite uncomfortable with that whole notion, and fans and stars. I find that sort of a thing that people do in absentia. I don't think this is a fandom, which is kind of one of the interesting things you've come up with is that this is sort of there's a fandom element to it. While it may have attracted a few people to Sid City in the first place, and certainly got the ball rolling in terms of a few people who first decided to come along. I think we had 30 people first time we did this. I don't know, Mel will correct me. I just think it's a frienddom. I don't see the guys here as fans of mine. And I'm always ready to hear someone saying, well, I don't know about you, but I was interested in this idea of Sid City and blah, blah, blah. Although I'm not naive, I know a lot of people did come in through a door of Star Trek or some other piece of work that maybe I had done. I'm curious about the fact that it seems to have developed its own momentum that is, which you touched on in your data, in your discussion there, Mallory, that it has its own life, which is kind of the perfect thing. I mean, obviously Colin, who needs a special mention, by the way, not because he did exceptional quizzes or as a great entertainment, which was really necessary, but that he didn't turn the clock off like I did. See, I turned the clock off after 2 hours. I'm gone, but he leaves it on, and everyone's available to talk for as long as they want. And he would sometimes, say, we went on for 5 hours, and I was like, oh my goodness, how do you have the energy? And it's like, it's great fun, etc., etc. Fandom evokes a certain idea of obsessive adoration. And I'm really reluctant to allow that to be part of our group. I love the fact that there are so many offshoots, and I think that's where the most interesting thing happens. And what you said earlier about it's the fact that it's not about Sid that is just as interesting as it is. I don't know whether that's a question.
No, I think that you're absolutely right. And it was funny because sometimes as people were talking about that uniqueness element, that it's Sid makes it unique, but also it not being about Sid. And even the way that they would start by calling you a celebrity, and they're like, but however he calls himself, it's not really that, because I think it's known well in this group by the regular attendees that that's not the kind of space that you wanted to create, and that's not what you wanted this to be about. And I think that was definitely felt with the participants, and really came out in how they were even trying to figure out how to describe you as being the center but not the center. And it was very obviously understood that you were trying to create something that was separate from that and unique in that way.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I thought it was wonderful, by the way, what your discussion there, your chat about what you found, and I think it's a fascinating subject. But I love the fact that it was just a single atom created and some attention, excitement, and a couple more atoms joined, and then thousands of atoms joined, and they became an amoeba. It became a thing, an organism, and that organism is its own identity. I don't know if you agree, Melissa, whether that's a laughter of agreement, but I think it is. I mean, you're welcome to disagree, but I do see this as its own entity, and everybody is just as responsible for us as I am, or Colin is, or Mel is, and we often get lots of pats on the back for being here, but everybody deserves pats on the back for being as comfortable as the big cushions you all are that people can just relax into every now and then.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in and say, 28 years since we met, I see this whole Sid City Social Club as an extension of the fandom going all the way back to the 90s, because the fandom's always been like this. You've never let it be just about you. I don't think the Sid City Social Club started a year and a half ago. I think it's been going on for 28 years. And I think that this is just building on the way your fandom always has been. And it is unique in that this community is unique, but I've seen these kinds of communities build around other celebrities. It's unique, but I think if you went and really looked, you'd find other communities that have not all the same elements, but some of the same elements that, I mean, if Mallory really wanted to go on and extend this, which she very well could do, I think there are other case studies that would bring new kinds of insights. So, but I think
fascinating.
What's going on.
That's fascinating.
Your personality is a magnet for like-minded people who, like you, don't put up with a lot of BS. So.
Gail, thank you. So, because I was talking to Mel very early on, and I said, we want to avoid any kind of cult of personality here, and she was like, that horse is already bolted. But what I think it is it's a cult of interpersonality, and that is kind of interesting to me. This lovely tapestry of, someone else used the word tapestry earlier, this lovely tapestry of people who now will connect with each other. And I will be long forgotten, and they will still remember each other. And that's really fascinating. And that's what's really exciting about Mallory's study, is the fringe element, which she stresses very a great deal in her study, that it's the Discord and the quizzes, the various people who end up being mini magnets that to attract lots of other little iron filings to come along and get involved and discuss with each other in a relatively relaxed place where they think they can be themselves. You know, the big piece of relationship advice that I think I could only ever give anybody, because I'm lucky enough to have it with my wife, is that you want to find someone, and I would tell my son this, you want to find someone who lets you be yourself. That's it. There ain't nothing else. There's no other motivation behind it. You should never think of anything else. If you can be yourself, you are happy. That's pretty much what I hope that you've all encouraged for each other, the space that you literally all of you have created for each other. I was just there to get the ball rolling, and Mel was there to make sure the ball rolled.
So one thought that I will end on, and then will stop talking, but I think it relates to something that you said, Sid. There's an episode in Madam Secretary, which is about the Secretary of State in the US. And it's a really, really difficult episode. One of her assistants says, you know, I joke with people that I'm saving the world one binder at a time, but what if I'm just making binders? And ever since I saw that episode, like that's been my biggest fear as a social worker and as a social justice driven human being. Like, what if I'm just making binders? Like, I think I'm doing these good things, but what if that's all I'm doing? And one of the most meaningful things to me about being a part of this particular group is that it's become very evident, not just through the research study, but just through getting to know people, that this is a community that does a lot more than just make binders. And it's a community that's actually like making real tangible change, you know, with each other and the support they're giving with each other and with the outside world. And it's been really cool and really meaningful to be a part of.
Fantastic. And I'm really glad you've given us an excuse to pat ourselves on the backs, all of us, because it doesn't exist without all of us. And the people who aren't here, who appear at other times, it really is a huge group hug when it happens as many times as we need it to happen. It's terrific. Thank you, Mallory.
Thank you, Mallory. I'm going to piggyback off of that by bringing Amy on.
Hi.
Hi, Amy. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
It's like you have a set designer working in your room, because it's always beautiful. Your camera, the whole thing is gorgeous.
Oh, thanks.
Great.
My plants are doing good. When I first got this, when this all started, I was like a plant virgin and killed many a succulent, but I think I've got it okay now. This past year, like a lot of us have just gotten to know each other. And so a couple weeks ago, Leia had reached out to some of us who live in the Mid-Atlantic about coming to get together. So amazing. I highly recommend, like on Discord, we have a little map. So maybe like zoom in, see who's in your area. Maybe have a little mini meetup. Even if you can't make it to like, you know, one of the big conventions or something, definitely.
I totally recommend that too, if it's at all possible.
As Elmy pointed out the other day, I've met the most people in Sid City. And I was like, no, surely that's going to change. At Las Vegas, I'm like, oh wait, no, I'm going there too. So if anyone would like to beat my record, I challenge you. It's worth it. Like months and months ago, I was talking to Casey or something, and I was like, you know, at the end of all this, like after all this ends and stuff, like maybe most of us will meet you like maybe once. Like maybe once. But what we're gonna take away from this is the other people in here who we're gonna have the contact with, and we're gonna be able to meet up. And that's something that I've always looked forward to. And
that's pretty wonderful, isn't it? That's pretty great. I mean, even my wife's complaining right now that I'm not even meeting her for 9 months, which is thank goodness for the video on telephone now, because you can actually see each other. You know how it is. Remember, I don't know if you remember pre-telephone, video telephone, that is, that you would be away from someone you loved, and for a few days, a few weeks, and just something in the tone of their voice, you just went, oh, that's an alarm bell. That doesn't sound right. But when you see them, it's totally fine. You know when it's a joke. You know when they're not upset or upset. And it just makes life so much easier. So actually, it's much more bearable. Thank goodness for video telephoning, that to actually be away for a long time. It's not great, though. I'm kind of really interested in the fact that you just picked up where you left off as if you had been physical friends for a long time. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm like, I've known Leia since last fall. Like, why would this be weird? We talk all the time.
One of these days, inshallah, we'll be able to all get together someplace, some crazy place that is in the middle of somewhere that everybody can get to without any trouble. Don't know quite what that is. That sounds a bit like, I'm in Buddhist country right now. It sounds quite a Buddhist notion.
All right, we're just about out of time here, and I think Sid's got an appointment also.
Listen, it's lovely seeing everybody. Thank you very much. I'm going to jump downstairs and do my test. And then I've got a wonderful dialect class in about an hour, which I have not prepared for, and I'm in so much trouble. This person is such a taskmaster, she'll beat me. Anyway, I'll let you know how that beating goes later.
Good luck.
Thank you. I'll need it. Lovely talking to everybody. Lovely catching up. We're going to do some more pop-ups because I'm not working. So at some point, Mel and I will organize a few more so we can talk to people, because we didn't talk to enough people today.
Stay tuned. Yeah, we've got some other good things that we didn't get to tonight, so we'll put them on the next time list. Yeah. So, all right. Thanks, Sid. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Love you all. Bye.
Love you, Sid. Bye. Amy, if you want to jump back in here.
It's actually a double feature, so Game of Thrones and Peaky Blinders. They're both short, so it just worked out that way. And if you've received your Sid City coloring book, if you go to the cause of death page, you can play along and see, like, maybe one of these things will be necessary for these shows. Targaryens of the dragons, whatever. Fun fact.
All right, awesome. He thinks it's pretty funny that you're doing these. So when you get to the primeval one, if you could, just like make a quick outline for him so he knows what's going on, that'd be great.
I honestly was considering just like a slideshow of the suits he wears, because they're pretty nice suits. But
that is a really good suit. Yeah,
really good suits. He has this like lavender button down in one of them, and I was like, why is he not wearing this on Zoom? But not mine.
Lavender. I'll tell him he needs to get a lavender.
Well, it looked good. Just I'm saying, with like the skin tone and everything.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. He just needs to pick up a lavender T-shirt so that then he can have complete the collection. Yeah. And then speaking of getting together in real life, if you will be in Las Vegas next week for the 55-year mission, I will be too, and I'd love to see you. We will be doing a hybrid, the first ever, fingers crossed, technology. I don't have anything wood right here, but technology behaving. We will be doing a hybrid Sid City Social Club meetings. And if you are in Vegas, you can go to sidcity.net/STLV21. And if you are not going to be in Las Vegas, then the link will be posted at the usual time. We'll be doing in person and Zoom. So pray for me that this all works. All right, I think we're gonna wrap it up there. Moogie's impatient. She's ready to go play. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.